In the flashback of the story, Aladdin was seen collapsing on his knees, saying he would rather die than to be trapped in this place forever. He asked Ugo what he is. Ugo refused to answer his question, but added that he could grant Aladdin any wish he wants, such as attaining immortality. Soon later in the storyline, Ali Baba was loading goods for Boodle. When Ali Baba was about to load the goods, he found a young boy feasting on watermelons, which he soon introduced himself as Aladdin. When Boodle found Aladdin feasting on the watermelons, he demanded Ali Baba to work until he is compensated for the loss of the watermelons. Later that night, when Aladdin asked about dungeons, Ali Baba explained it as mysterious ruins that appeared all over the world 14 years ago, where those who capture it gain both fame and power, which he included that the reward also has a metal vessel with a jinn in it, which Aladdin was looking for. The next day, when Aladdin was traveling with Ali Baba, they bumped into a girl which later was revealed to be a slave. Aladdin freed her, but people showed disapproving expressions, which Ali Baba said that it's not a good thing to do as it means stealing a slave, which also happened to be Boodle's. Boodle later threatened Ali Baba that if he doesn't compensate for his loss, he would make Ali Baba into his slave and started to abuse the girl. However, Aladdin stopped him with his flute, which spread arms and attacked Boodle. This made Ali Baba and the crowd shocked. Ali Baba asked Aladdin about the flute, which Aladdin introduced it as Ugo and Jinn. Fascinated by Aladdin's flute, he sends Aladdin to a hostel. Boodle's superior Jamil knew about the incident and gave Boodle a job to transport wine and slaves. In the hostel, Aladdin revealed his aim, which is to fulfill his promise to Ugo that he would search for a jinn metal vessel. Boodle found Ali Baba and threatened him whether to work for Boodle for life or die. Later, they found the girl in a cage, which was later revealed that she would be transferred to the mines. On their journey, a desert hyacinth was seen attacking the cargo. While helping Boodle with carrying the wine, Ali Baba saw a girl falling down from the cliff, which was saved by the girl they met earlier, and both of them ended up falling into the cliff. Ali Baba, worried about them, punched Boodle for just worrying about the wine and went to save them from being eaten by the hyacinth. Aladdin later tried to help Ali Baba in his rescue by summoning his jinn. After defeating the monster, Ali Baba and Aladdin set off to the dungeon. After a narrow escape from drowning and being set on fire, our heroes must fight an army of alien ants. Using Ugo's power, they're able to defeat them, but afterwards, a tuckered-out Aladdin collapses. As it turns out, every time he calls his magical friend, Aladdin uses some of his power, and he can only use so much of it before he needs to recharge by eating or taking a bit of a nap. Ali Baba looks after the unconscious Aladdin when they're discovered by Magiana, who has entered the dungeon with her master, Sharif Jamil, and another one of his slaves, the Silent Goltas, in search of Aladdin, whom the Sharif call Magi. Jamil takes Aladdin and ends up persuading Ali Baba to join him. The group wanders on until it eventually falls to Ali Baba to disarm a particularly fiery trap, and after doing so, he is engulfed in flames. Aladdin wakes up and is left in Magiana's care, while the other two explore further. As Magiana is telling Aladdin how Ali Baba died, he appears above them and escapes with Aladdin. They reach in front of a huge gate that requires both of their hands to open, as well as a magic incantation. The door dissolves, revealing a whole underground city. Later, Aladdin and Ali Baba reach the treasure room. Then Goltas appears and collapses in front of them. When they are distracted by Goltas, Magiana kicks Aladdin across the room. Jamil has Magiana to go after Aladdin while he deals with Ali Baba. Jamil and Ali Baba engage in a sword duel. In their match, Ali Baba easily evades Jamil's attacks and knocks him down. Jamil wonders how Ali Baba is able to outwit him. When Ali Baba has Jamil cornered, Jamil orders Magiana to save him. Ali Baba tries to ask Magiana to go with him, yet he finds himself slammed by Magiana into the stairs. Jamil laughs at Ali Baba and pets Magiana. He stomps on Ali Baba repeatedly and orders Magiana to kill Ali Baba. In the nick of time, Aladdin destroys Magiana's sword and demands Jamil to give him back his flute. When Magiana tries to attack Aladdin, Aladdin binds Magiana with his powers, recalling his teacher's vision of a great Magi. As Jamil asks Aladdin to make him a king after giving Aladdin his flute back, Aladdin remarks that Jamil is not worthy to be king. Later, Aladdin and Ali Baba find Amun, who explain what a Magi's purpose is. Suddenly, someone strikes the tower from the outside, causing the tower to crumble. Despite Ali Baba's urge for Jamil's group to leave with them, Goltas frees Magiana from her chains, and he tells her to go with them as he and Jamil stay behind to face their fate. On the way out, Ali Baba and Aladdin chat about their goals and promise each other to go on more adventures. In Kishan, Ali Baba finds himself welcomed by the villagers, but he finds Aladdin missing. Meanwhile, in the plains, the Kuta clan find Aladdin sleeping. Ali Baba is visited by Magiana, who thanks him for making use of the treasure he collected to free all the slaves, including her. Ali Baba then decides to leave the city looking for his friend. Aladdin wakes up in a nomadic village far away and is welcomed the Kuga clan's leader, Baba. Hakue Ren, the first princess of the Ku Empire, appears at the village to ask the clan to join the empire, but Baba declines her offer. Fearing that the empire may eventually annex the Kuga by force, Aladdin pays a visit to the princess and she promises him to solve the matter without causing any deaths. Meanwhile, some women from the clan are kidnapped by slave traders and a group of warriors set to rescue them, warned to not kill anybody in order to not cause a war. After the warriors return, bringing the women with them and having fulfilled the promise to not shed any blood, Baba announces her decision to have the clan join the Ku Empire and the clan agrees. Later, everyone is sitting by a fire having somewhat of a party. After a while, Baba excuses herself, telling everyone she's going pee. She tells herself that she will live on to see her children's children and grandchildren, but soon after she is hit by an arrow. Aladdin wonders what's taking Baba so long. As Aladdin rushes to take Baba to be treated, Hakue learns that one of the soldiers was killed by an arrow from the Kuga clan, and she leaves the army under the command of her aide, Reasai, to learn the truth about the attack. As soon as Hakue left, Reasai explains that this is part of his plan to start a war. Hakue comes across the clan who does not believe her words even after she had herself wounded after refusing to fight back. Baba, who is brought there by Aladdin under her request, reaffirms her decision to have the Kuga become a protectorate of the Ku Empire and allows the princess to return. After Baba dies from her wounds, her spirit appears before Aladdin, who confirms that he is indeed a Magi. Hakue returns to the camp just to find Reasai and his troops ready for war. She learns that it was all a plot of his to have her killed and for Reasai to take command of her troops. Hakue and her assistant Seizen fight against the troops. However, Hakue's metal vessel runs out of Magoi, causing them to lose the fight. Aladdin arrives and uses his powers to knock Reasai and the troops back. Then Aladdin notices Hakue's metal vessel. Then Payman, the djinn inside Hakue's metal vessel, materializes. Aladdin learns from Payman that Hakue is her king candidate appointed by a Magi who lives in the Ku Empire. After bidding farewell to the Kuga clan, Aladdin joins a caravan looking to reunite with Ali Baba. While Sasa and Layla are selling their produce, Magiana arrives to deliver one huge load. Later, Magiana thanks both Sasa and Layla for helping her and informs them that she is heading to her homeland to honor her savior's wishes. In town, the group see how empty the town is due to the bandits. Layla bumps into a slave trader Fatima, and Magiana glances at the group of slaves following Fatima. Next day, the head of caravan informs Magiana that they are taking another route, and he cannot take Magiana back to her homeland since the bandits' fortress is blocking the other path. At the bandits' hideout, Nando chats with Fatima while Magiana makes her way to their home base. She jumps down and makes a little announcement. Thinking she's a small threat, one man gets too close to Magiana, and he gets punched in the gut by her. As she beats up the bandits, Nando tries to attack her, only to receive Magiana's powerful kick to the face. Watching her, Fatima falls in love with Magiana's sheer strength and enhanced speed. He sends a crow that tears into Magiana's shoulder. She succumbs to the toxin and collapses. Back in town, Layla realizes Magiana is missing and she sees the head of the caravan assembling a small group. Magiana watches in horror as the child is about to be killed. Then, she hears Golta's voice urging her to fight back, and she jumps high in the air. After she destroys the ankle cuffs by banging them against the metal plate, she unleashes a devastating shriek that scares the hyenas. Releasing the tigers, Magiana jumps into the fray and brutally smashes the tigers one by one. She leaps towards Fatima and demands the keys. Magiana frees the slaves and Nadia reunites with her parents. In the crowd, Aladdin calls over Magiana and explains that the bandits had ambushed the caravan. Outside of the bandits' hideout, Layla's group heads towards the base only to see Ugo popping out. After a night of celebration, Aladdin and Magiana head towards Balbad. The Nana brothers trek across the desert and into the forest where they find Sinbad sleeping. The brothers notice Sinbad wears a lot of jewelry. Moments later, Magiana and Aladdin arrive at the forest. Magiana thanks Aladdin and informs him that she is heading back to her homeland. Then, the two see something shocking. Sinbad greets Aladdin and Magiana while nude. When Magiana smells the sea, she and Aladdin run up the hill, where they gaze upon the kingdom of Balbad. Sinbad gives the two a tour around the city and explains about the trade, the royal family, and the poverty. He leads them to a hotel where he gives them rooms as thanks. When the guards try to stop Sinbad, Jafar stops them. Inside the room, Sinbad states he has been robbed of his clothes and equipment, which irks Jafar. Jafar reminds him of his responsibility as Sindria's king. In a meeting with King Ahmad, Sinbad asks him to resume trade with Sindria. Ahmad explains about the fog troop to Sinbad. At the same time, Ahmad does the same to Magiana and Aladdin. When the maid mentions Ali Baba's name, Aladdin is startled. Sinbad takes the problem in his own hands after Ahmed makes a rude comment. Later, Sinbad treats Margiana and Aladdin to lunch while he introduces his generals to them. While Sinbad and Jafar chat, Jafar freaks out when Aladdin summons Ugo to show to Masra in the background. Sinbad learns that Aladdin does not know about his adventures and gives him a proper introduction of himself. When Aladdin asks Sinbad what a Magi is, Sinbad explains that a Magi can materialize jinn and can create Magoi. He requests Aladdin to help him capture the thieves, which Jafar asks Sinbad to reconsider. Margiana states that the thieves are stopping trade, which prevents her from going to the Dark Continent. At the same time, she and Aladdin are looking for someone. Both she and Aladdin agree to help Sinbad capture the thieves. At Margiana's location, she grabs Aladdin and jumps with him on the roof when she smells the red fog. Jafar explains the scarlet fog is causing hallucinations. Zainab, Hassan, and their group arrive at the building. Hassan uses his weapon to melt through the door. Jafar seizes the thieves with his long strings. As Jafar lands, a black fog subdues him. Then Margiana attempts to attack Qasim, who binds Margiana with his ebony fog. Aladdin summons Ugo to block the mansion from the thieves. A mysterious figure passes Qasim and reveals his face to Aladdin, who is shocked to see Ali Baba. Aladdin stares down at Ali Baba, who asks him to put away Ugo, and despite Jafar's protests, Aladdin does it anyway. Aladdin reminds Ali Baba of their promise on that day going to see the world together. Ali Baba apologizes to Aladdin that he cannot keep that promise, and Aladdin is at a loss of words. When the Balbad military police arrive, Ali Baba summons Amun's flames and flood the surroundings with Amun's wrath. Next day, Sinbad chats with Jafar about Ali Baba. At the bandits' hideout, Qasim welcomes the Nando brothers, and Ali Baba informs them that they are chivalrous thieves who are fighting for the slums. A group of children arrive to thank Ali Baba, and Qasim asks Ali Baba to save these children. In Ali Baba's room, he thinks he senses something, and when he gets on his bed, he sees Margiana on the ceiling, who muffles him. She reminds him that he was looking for Aladdin 6 months ago, and when Ali Baba does not comply, Margiana kidnaps Ali Baba. All of a sudden, Margiana tosses Ali Baba through the window. Moments later, Ali Baba and Aladdin have an awkward moment until Margiana has Ali Baba explain everything. Ali Baba shares his story about Qasim. In his past, Ali Baba and Qasim play with each other in one of their games. Ali Baba always comes home to his mother, who was a prostitute. Later on, Ali Baba's mother passes away, and Ali Baba, along with the other children, did small jobs. On the other hand, Qasim resorts to crime to do the same. When Ali Baba asks Qasim if he needs help, Qasim tells Ali Baba that he wants him to stay on the path of his mother. Afterwards, Ali Baba discovers that his true father is the king of Balbad, and when Ali Baba breaks the news to Qasim, Qasim states that the two were different from birth. Years later, after learning to be a prince at the castle, Ali Baba sneaks away to see the slums. He is shocked to see nothing there, and he finds Qasim. Over at a bar, Ali Baba shares to Qasim how he snuck out from the castle using tunnels. Ali Baba feels stupid when he reflects back on how someone followed him back to the castle. By the king's bed, Rashid Salija tells Ali Baba that he wants to leave the country to him. Before Ali Baba accepts the offer, he asks his father how he felt about his mother, and the king states that he truly loved her. Then a noise is heard, and Ali Baba goes out to investigate, where he gets knocked out after seeing Qasim. Qasim has his followers burn the place. Ali Baba begins explaining his past to Aladdin and Margiana. At the same time, Sinbad eavesdrops on Ali Baba's conversations from the next room. In Balbad, Ali Baba investigates what has happened to his hometown. During a raid on a ship, Ali Baba encounters Qasim. Qasim explains that the government had burned down the slums due to an epidemic. He states that he started the Fog Troop to fight for the poor and to rebel against the government. He asks Ali Baba to become their leader. As Aladdin listens to Ali Baba's story, he makes a connection to the Kuga clan situation. Aladdin reassures Ali Baba that he has him and Margiana as his support. Suddenly, Qasim and his gang crash into the room. Sinbad and his crew engages Qasim's troop. He manages to inflict damage on Hassan. Margiana asks Ali Baba what will he do. Then, Masra runs and bashes through the gang. Qasim attempts to bind Sinbad but fails. After Masra has captured Qasim, Qasim urges Ali Baba to run away. Sinbad points out that Ali Baba is a prince. Ali Baba takes out his dagger when he thinks Sinbad is making fun of his bond with Qasim and the Fog Troop. As Ali Baba unleashes a barrage of Amun's flames, Sinbad knocks out Ali Baba easily. Sinbad remarks that Ali Baba cannot properly use his jinn's powers. He offers his aid to the Fog Troop, much to everyone's shock. Jafar reminds Sinbad that he is here to fix the situation with Balbad's trade. Sinbad states that he wants to help everyone in the slums. He asks Ali Baba to trust him and explains that his reasons is to stop the distortions of the world. When Qasim refuses to believe Sinbad and mocks him, Jafar attempts to threaten Qasim. Sinbad stops him. Next day, the townspeople read Ali Baba's message and arrive at the palace with hopes in their hearts. In Ahmad's royal court, Ali Baba requests Ahmad to help the people in the slums. In exchange, Ali Baba will disband the Fog Troop. However, Ahmad refuses to acknowledge Ali Baba or answer his request. Outside, Aladdin notices Juder and the Black Ruck surrounding him. The man presents himself as Juder, an oracle serving the Ku Empire who claims to have business with Ahmad. Ignoring Ali Baba's protests, Ahmad reveals to Sinbad that by recommendation of his financial advisor Markio, he relinquished all of Balbad's trading rights to the Ku Empire. Thus, he is not in position to resume trading with Sindria. Back at the Fog Troop's base, Sinbad announces to the people of the slums that negotiations with Ahmad failed, but for some reason, Qasim and his companions are nowhere to be found. Juder appears before Sinbad and notices that the Ruck behaves strangely around Aladdin. Sinbad then reveals that it is because Aladdin is a Magi just like him. Without any warning, Juder starts attacking Aladdin until Ugo appears to stop him. Juder strikes Aladdin with his ice spears and Ugo shields him with his own body. Aladdin tries to have the wounded Ugo return to the flute, but he refuses. Juder then impales Ugo with a huge ice spear, but the Jinn makes use of his last strength to crush him with his hands. Juder is saved from being killed by the princess of the Ku Empire and her aide Kuban Ka, who tends to his wounds. Ugo tries to attack them, but the princess defeats him with the aid of her Jinn Vinya. Aladdin then launches himself in fury against the princess, who orders her servants to kill everyone. However, Sinbad intervenes and convinces the princess to retreat. As the wounded from the battle are treated, Ali Baba and Magiana find an exhausted Aladdin who had almost all of his Magway depleted in an attempt to bring back Ugo and is in critical condition. Feeling himself to be useless for not being able to do anything to help and with Qasim still missing, Ali Baba is visited by Ahmad's other brother, the Sabmad. Sinbad deduces that it was Sabmad who was leaking info about the army to the Fog Troop, and he explains that it was all to protect Ali Baba, whom he claims is the only one able to stop Ahmad. He reveals that after contracting a huge debt with the Ku Empire, Ahmad intends to pay for it by selling the people of Balbad as slaves. Upon hearing that, Magiana urges Ali Baba to make a stand against him. Before returning to the palace, Sabmad warns Ali Baba that in 5 days, Ahmad will marry one of the Ku Empire's princesses, and in the occasion, his decision to turn the people of Balbad into slaves will be announced. Sometime later, while Aladdin still shows no signs of waking up, Ali Baba is informed by Sinbad that in order to stop up Ahmad's plans and prevent the country to be taken over by the Ku Empire, he must assume the throne of Balbad. As Ali Baba wanders the streets thinking about it, he is approached by Qasim, who is among what remains of the Fog Troop. Qasim reveals to Ali Baba that he already knows about Ahmad's slavery plan, and helped by the weapons dealer who supplies their magic tools, he intends to start a rebellion in 2 days. Ali Baba refuses to cooperate with him and affirms that he will look for a solution which does not involve the death of anyone. After Ali Baba is driven away by Qasim, he turns to Sinbad and asks him to teach him how to properly use his jinn. Sometime later, Magiana tries to find Ali Baba with no success and realizes that he had left to confront his brother alone. Meanwhile, at the palace gates, Ali Baba stands before the guards, asking them to let him in. Ali Baba manages to reach the palace grounds, but Ahmed sends one of the 3 royal guards from the Ku Empire to kill him. After finally succeeding to properly equip Amon's sword, Ali Baba defeats the first guard, but the second guard and his army of monkeys block his way until Magiana appears to fight in his place, allowing him to keep pressing forward. As Magiana fights the second guard, Ali Baba runs out of Magway while fighting the third guard and creates some fire with oil to power up Amon's sword for an instant, using it to bring him down. Meanwhile, Sinbad learns about the situation and leaves to the palace too, with all the guards defeated. Ali Baba reaches the throne room where Ahmad orders his guards to kill him, but Sabmad intervenes in his favor, insisting that the conversation between his 2 brothers must not be disturbed. As Ali Baba tries to convince Ahmad to step down, Kuvio Kuren, the princess they previously met, appears in an attempt to stop the commotion. She claims that even if Ahmad is removed from power, another king must be chosen to marry her as part of Balbad's agreement with the Ku Empire, and all agreements between both countries, including the slavery treaty, must be acknowledged. Ali Baba instead declares that there will be no king at all because Balbad's monarchy shall be dissolved and adopt a democratic rule. Sinbad joins the discussion, bringing some representatives of his confederation. The Seven sees alliance with him and offers himself to discuss Balbad's inclusion in said alliance with the Ku Emperor in person, prompting Kudioku to retreat. As Ali Baba addresses his decision to the people, The ruck gathers strangely around Aladdin and Juder while Qasim and his men approach the palace. The crowd cheers for Ali Baba's proposal of turning Balbad into a republic. Qasim and his fog troop arrive on the scene. From afar, Ithnan observes the situation. Zainab fuels the rage of the crowd with her hallucinogenic red mist. Qasim orders everyone to wipe out the royalty, and the crowd starts rebelling while the Black Ruck runs rampant. Elsewhere, Jafar tries to wake up Aladdin. In Aladdin's dream, he wakes up to see Ugo's talking head. Ugo reassures Aladdin that he is still alive, but he was almost dead due to a battle with Juder. In Balbad, Markio tries to suppress the Black Ruck, but Ithman crushes him. Meanwhile, Ugo talks about how Black Ruck is formed when the flow of fate is reversed. He explains to Aladdin that he cannot protect him anymore and that he has something important to give him, the wisdom of Solomon. Deep in the vortex of knowledge, Solomon informs Aladdin that he will be reborn. At Aladdin's side, Jafar and Masr head to the palace. Over at the palace, the guards are being slaughtered. Ali Baba instructs them to have half of the royal army block off the main gate while the other half suppresses the invaders in the palace. Confronting Qasim and his group, Ali Baba demands Qasim to explain himself, and Qasim states that he has no need for equality or kings. When Qasim attacks Ali Baba, the others use their black fog to bind Ali Baba. Ali Baba unleashes his flames to break free, and Zainab blasts him with her red mist. Yet, Ali Baba uses Amin's sword to defend himself. He breaks Hassan's weapon and everyone's swords. He orders Qasim to withdraw, yet Qasim demands Ali Baba to kill him. Recalling Ithnan's instructions, Qasim stabs himself with his sword and gathers all of the remnants of his allies' shattered blades which strike his body. Absorbing the household vessels, Qasim transforms into a dark jinn. Roaring loud, the black jinn starts bombarding the royal guards with dark magic blasts. When Qasim dives towards Ahmad, Magiana kicks Qasim down. Ali Baba quickly cuts off Qasim's arm, only to see Qasim regenerate his left arm back using the Black Ruck. As Qasim powers up his attack, Sinbad stabs him in the back to manipulate his Magway while urging Ali Baba to strike Qasim down. Concentrating his flames, Ali Baba thrusts into Qasim with all of his might. Qasim throws Sinbad towards Ali Baba, and Machiana grabs him. Sinbad explains to Ali Baba that he has to put everything in one attack to defeat Qasim. Sinbad gives Ali Baba some Magway, and as Ali Baba dives towards Qasim, Juder intercepts and knocks Ali Baba away. With Juder back on the battlefield, Ithnan explains to Juder about his increased powers and tells him to finish off Ali Baba. When hope is almost gone, Aladdin soars towards the palace using the power of the White Ruck. Meanwhile, Juder takes control of Qasim, and he uses his ice spears to pin Sinbad to the wall. After Magiana evades Qasim's attacks, Ali Baba requests Magiana to toss him so he can deliver the final blow. She tosses Ali Baba high in the air, and Juder blasts him. Combining his ice magic with Qasim's gravity magic, Qasim breaks Ali Baba's sword. Ali Baba asks Magiana to toss him one more time. Recalling Ali Baba's determination, Aladdin arrives in a flash of light before Ali Baba. Juder asks Aladdin to show his jinn, yet Aladdin explains that Ugo is no longer here. Aladdin uses his ruck to materialize into Ugo's form to protect himself from Juder's attacks. Aladdin uses his Har in figure to melt the ice that was pinning Sinbad. He asks Magiana to bring Sinbad to the city. Then he tells Ali Baba that he has no chance of defeating Juder by himself. As Aladdin gathers the White Ruck from the people of Balbad, Ithnan realizes that Aladdin has acquired Wisdom of Solomon. Using Wisdom of Solomon, Aladdin absorbs the ruck inside his body. He explains to Ali Baba that he has to pierce Qasim with his sword, and repairs the sword. As Juder rains ice spears down on them, Ali Baba manages to dodge them and stab Qasim. Then, Qasim absorbs Ali Baba. Aladdin uses his Wisdom of Solomon to tap into Juder, who collapses after remembering some of his dark past. Inside the Black Jinn, Ali Baba speaks with Qasim, who states that he has despised him ever since they met. Qasim wonders why he is the only one stained by the darkness, while Ali Baba is radiating with the light. Ali Baba punches Qasim and explains that he had done things that he is ashamed. The two power up their respective rucks and attack each other. Qasim knocks Ali Baba down. Qasim states that everything was decided for them at birth. Qasim stabs Ali Baba in the chest with his black ruck, and some of Ali Baba's white ruck flows inside Qasim. As a result, Qasim hears Ali Baba's words that shatter his blade. When Qasim cries, his world brightens up, and the black jinn begins to fall apart. Running towards Qasim, Ali Baba tries to grab Qasim's hand and yells out that they are friends. In the palace, Ithnan quickly grabs Juder and retreats. Aladdin watches Ali Baba holding and bawling over Qasim's dead body. High in the skies, Masr strikes Ithnan with his household vessel. Then, Jafar breaks Ithman's barrier with his powers. While Ithnan falls down, Sinbad powers up his magic and electrocutes Ithnan in a powerful flash of lightning. Sinbad notices only a doll has fallen. Deep in the sea, a snake swims from Ithman's disemboweled head. Meanwhile, the men and women of Al-Thaman discuss about the Balvad incident. Back at the palace, Aladdin points out that the dead is always with them in their hearts and in the Ruq's flow. Ali Baba's parents appear before Ali Baba, and Aladdin tells everyone to reunite with their loved ones. Then all of the deceased citizens fly towards the Great Ruq. Magi embraces both Aladdin and Ali Baba. That's all, folks. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to let a comment below, hit the like button, and subscribe for more.